For over 100 years, there's been this one number that has just stared back at physicists from the fabric of reality, and nobody could explain it. But now, a new theory, and it's a radical one, claims to have finally cracked the code, and it suggests this magic number isn't magic at all. Okay, let's dive into this.
I mean, when a mind like Richard Feynman calls a number a mystery written by the hand of God, that tells you everything you need to know, right? This quote just perfectly captures the awe and honestly the frustration this number has inspired for generations of scientists.
So to really get why this new idea is such a big deal, we first have to appreciate the mystery it's trying to solve. Let's start with part 1, a century of mystery. This is a puzzle that has stumped the best minds in physics for a very, very long time. So what is this number exactly? Well, it's known as alpha, or the fine structure constant. And you can think of it as the master dial that sets the strength for electromagnetism in the universe. It dictates how an electron talks to a photon, how atoms hold themselves together, basically how almost everything we see and touch actually works. And there it is. Its value is approximately 1 divided by 137. It's a pure number, no units attached. But the question that's driven physicists crazy is, why this number? Why not 1 over 50 or 1 over 200? The sheer, random-looking specificity of it is what has made it so maddening. And this is not a new problem. As you can see here, Arnold Sommerfeld first stumbled upon it way back in 1916. Decades later, in 1985, you had Feynman still calling it one of physics' greatest mysteries. And now, this recent paper comes along and suggests we've been looking at it all wrong from the very beginning.
And that brings us to our next section, a radically simple idea. Because this new proposal, which is based on a framework called the Taichu formalism, doesn't just offer an answer, it suggests we've been asking the wrong question this whole time.
Okay, just look at the complete shift in perspective here. For 100 years, we've treated alpha as some fundamental constant we just have to go out and measure. This new idea, the Taichu formalism, says, nope, it's not fundamental. It's an emergent probability that we can actually figure out from scratch, just by counting.
So what is this Taichu formalism? Well, at its core, it's a completely different vision of reality. It's not smooth and continuous, it's discrete, kind of like pixels on a screen. And it's not perfectly symmetrical. Instead, it's built from a very specific, defined set of directions and interactions.
All right, now for part 3, where we get to the heart of it. This is where it gets really, really cool. The theory claims we can get to the number 137 not through some mind-bending physics equation, but by simply counting the number of possible pathways in this discrete universe. Let's see how they do it.
The first piece of the puzzle is the stage itself. So instead of the usual 3 spatial dimensions plus time, this framework kicks things off with 7 fundamental directions.
And check these out: front, back, left, right, up, down, and crucially, now. These aren't your typical X, Y, Z axes from math class. In this model, they are all distinct directions. Front is not simply the negative of back. And that now dimension is the absolute key, because it anchors everything to the observer's point of view.
The theory then says each of these 7 directions can be in one of 2 states. You can think of it as on or off, or yin and yang. So the total number of possible dimensional setups is 2 to the power of 7, which gives us 128. Tuck that number away for a second.
So, that was the stage. Now we need the actors. How can particles actually interact on this stage? Well, the theory says there are only 3 fundamental ways.
They can attract each other, they can repel each other, or they can simply intersect and cross paths. That's it. That's the entire menu of options. Every complex electromagnetic dance is just a combination of these 3 simple moves.
Now, for any interaction between 2 things, a 2-phase system, these 3 modes can combine in 3 squared, or 9 distinct ways. So we've got our 128 dimensional states, and now we have 9 interaction states.
And I think you see where this is going. This is the absolute core of the entire theory. You take the 128 possibilities for the dimensions, you add the 9 possibilities for interactions, and you get 137. A 100-year-old mystery potentially solved with simple addition. It's just elegant.
So here's the punchline. Alpha isn't some arbitrary strength that was baked into the universe. It's just a probability. When an electron and a photon are about to interact, they have 137 total pathways to choose from. The chance of them picking any single one of those pathways is exactly 1 in 137. But a good theory shouldn't just solve one problem. It should have ripples. And that brings us to part 4, solving other puzzles, because this simple idea of counting pathways actually has some powerful effects, potentially explaining other deep quantum mysteries with the exact same logic.
Take the stability of atoms, for instance. Why do electrons settle into these nice, stable orbits? Well, this theory says it's like a ball rolling to the bottom of a hill. Out of the 137 paths an electron could take, it naturally defaults to the shortest, lowest energy one. That path of least resistance is the atomic ground state. It's stable because there's just no easier path for it to take.
And it might even solve the famous observer problem in quantum mechanics. Remember how it includes that now dimension anchoring everything to the observer? By building the observer into the system from the very start, the weird paradox of the act of looking at something changing it, well, it just kind of disappears.
So this all leads us to our final section and a truly profound idea. If a number as fundamental and weird as alpha is really just the result of counting all the possibilities, what does that mean for the other constants of nature? Are all constants just counts?
This quote from the paper itself says it perfectly. Maybe the universe isn't fine-tuned with a bunch of magical numbers that have to be just right. Maybe those numbers are just the inevitable, logical result of the universe's underlying structure, the total number of ways things can be.
And that's really the thought I want to leave you with. This whole theory suggests that one of the deepest mysteries in physics could turn out to be a simple counting problem. And if that's true, it just makes you wonder, what other profound secrets of the universe are hiding in plain sight, just waiting for us to find the right way to count them?